Hi folks. Some little while ago, one of the pass round group things we had contained a Higonokami knife, and this was last year, 2019, and I was very disparaging about it, which is a bit. I thought about it afterwards, and I thought it was a bit unfair on it. I didn't like it because I thought it was very crude and poorly made. And then the more I thought about it after I'd made that video, the more I thought I was wrong. So I got one at Christmas time. I put it on my Christmas list and my wife bought it for me. And it was a little one that came in a little sheath and it lives on my keyring. Well, I thought this one came up and this was on Heine Haynes. And I saw it and I thought, actually, I quite like the look of that. A number of things attracted me about it. One, it's slightly larger, so it's a bit more of a usable knife. And the other thing that occurred to me was that it was, I'll just show you. I'll show you if I could get it open. I got it open. It was, or it is, I don't even know if I can show you very well, Damascus steel. Now it's actually a Sanmai construction. Very difficult to show you. Anyway, it's a Sanmai construction. That's to say you've got a harder steel in the middle and it's clad with, on both sides, with some Damascus steel. So it gives you, in effect, a sort of faux hamon line between the hardened bit and the Damascus bit. It's completely not a hamon because it's not clay hardened or anything like that. It's just that this cutting edge is a different type of steel to the Damascus bit that's attached to the outside of it. The other thing that appealed to me about it was quite cheap. So I thought, I'll throw this in the cart and I'm going to have this. So this is big enough to be a, usable knife. If I give you a sort of measure here, it's about 6.5 inches long, and in terms of blade length, you're just shy of the 3-inch mark, and in terms of cutting edge, you're about 2 7/8, something like that, just shy of that possibly. So, it's a perfectly legal knife to carry in the UK and to use in the UK, but it's just at that maximum size. You couldn't go any bigger. And it's a nice little lightweight knife, and it also has some tradition behind it. Back in the days, if you were talking to a Japanese sword maker and you wanted to insult him, you would call him a cutler. You'd tell him he was somebody that makes cutlery. But in 1868, the banning of the carrying of swords in public came into being, and everybody always assumes it's the samurai class were completely cut off by that, but actually it was a bit more. It went a bit further than that. The samurai were the only ones allowed to wear the daisho, the two swords, the katana and the wakizashi. But some of the best swords of that period are either tantos or wakizashi. That's to say, daggers or short swords, which tended to be bought by merchants, because by that time many of the samurai were really quite impoverished because there was no need for soldiers. So samurai had to get jobs as clerks or whatever in the sort of administration of people's estates, which wasn't really their thing, and a lot of them became quite poor. So the people with the money, the merchant classes and so forth, who were theoretically much lower in the standings of Japanese society, but they were nonetheless the ones who had the money. So some of the better swords and daggers came from them. And this, incidentally, I mean, this you'll have seen this on my channel before, but this is of the Meiji period, so it's somewhere between 1868 and 1912. And it's it's a really high quality piece. You've got these bits of staghorn caps, on the. I mean, it looks like a shirasea, but that's really quite a nice piece of wood. And you've got staghorn koiguchi, staghorn cap on there, and so forth. These things, this was probably not made for a samurai warrior, but with the ending of the wearing of swords, a lot of sword makers had very little option but to go into the making of cutlery, and one particular person started the making of these Higonokami. Now, Higonokami, by the way, is the Higo is a place, and Nokami means Kami means the prefect or mayor, or not really shogun, not really the shogun, because not really in the days of the shoguns or the shogunate, but he would be a local leader, a mayor, a prefect, or some such term would be a kami, and so Higo no Kami means the mayor or prefect of Higo. And when you look at these characters on here, the first 4 characters is the word Higo. I know that. Unfortunately, my knowledge of Japanese is not good enough to recognise a single other character there, which is sort of unusual because I can usually find sort of numbers and things like that, but I just don't see anything there. I'm sure there are Japanese scholars out there who are looking at that and saying, "You fool! It says you've just bought a Chinese knockoff of a Japanese knife." No, I believe this is genuinely Japanese made. They have a sort of riveted pivot, folded brass outer, and they are in and of themselves a classic pocket knife. They may not be the most glamorous or the most stylish or the most expensive or the most sought after or whatever, but I have a number of Japanese knives, and this is the second cheapest. The cheaper one, the only one that's cheaper, is another Higonokami that's just a bit smaller, but it's I collect it for the same reason that I have a £20 Taylor's Eyewitness pocket knife, and I have a £20 Arthur Wright pocket knife, because it's quite nice to see the base models of these cultures and models. So those are the base models of the Sheffield knives, and this is the base model of the Japanese knives, and it's interesting to compare and contrast these with the best of their type, just as with the Sheffield knives here with the Japanese knives. I can compare this as a £30 bottom of the line, not quite bottom of the line. I mean, I could have got a mild steel handled one with not Damascus steel. It would have been even cheaper. But it's interesting to compare something at the bottom of the scale with things at the top of the scale, like the Rocksteads and Mokis and people like that. In terms of size comparator, just to sort of prove it is what it is, it's very slightly bigger than the Pioneer X blade. Just, an eighth of an inch, no, not even an eighth of an inch maybe. Handle's about the same size. In terms of thickness or thinness, is probably more accurate. It's a fraction of the thickness of this is a 3-layer Swiss Army knife, but even if it was only a 1-layer Swiss Army knife, this would still be thinner, because these brass scales are as thin as it could possibly be. I just like it. I think they need a bit of time to wear in, because this is incredibly difficult to open. I mean, it should be I have to press it on the table just to try and get it to fold. It should be one hand openable and closable. And I've put a bit of oil in there, and well, I cleaned it out a bit first, then I put a bit of oil in there, but there's no way on earth I can one hand open that yet. I think my other one was similar when I got it, but I fiddled about with it till I could get it going. I don't think it was quite as stiff as this one, to be honest. If they get too loose, you can tighten them up again by simply peening that rivet in there. Incidentally, that's just the washers under that rivet are just plain brass. Sometimes you get them with a starburst grinding on them. This doesn't have it. So although this is Damascus, it's actually still a very, very simple, plain version of the Higonokami. So anyway, if you're interested in that, and also if you'd like to see some other Japanese knives of varying quality and price, then please feel free to give us a like, subscribe, ring the bell. You'll get notifications of what is coming up. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I hope it was of some interest to some of you. Thank you very much. See you next time. Bye.